Hey, good morning.
Yay.
Everybody,
Do you want
this
to
is
read some
Reverend
comments
Briana
first
Lynn.
or?
No, let's talk for a minute. I am going to read these
Okay.
comments, though, because y'all was going in and I was going in, and so I wasn't even stopping long enough to look. Reverend Briana Lynn, how you doing?
I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
That's what's up. So let me tell y'all about Reverend Briana Lynn real quick. Um, The reason I sent her specifically an invite is because she was one of the women who joined me this past week for the Death-Inception-Rebirth Equinox ceremony that we did out in Desert Hot Springs. And so I thought I was going to be a lot more disciplined about my time. So we will talk briefly because I probably want to do a whole like 1 hour live on just what happened at that ceremony and what the takeaway should be from that, is from that. I probably even want to do a private Zoom with the women that attended just to get some like one-on-one feedback of how they experienced it, because it was intense, baby. it
I'm
was
still
it was
on it.
intense. It was like next level. But so Reverend Briana, for those who do not know who you are, say a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then let's wrap.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm a student of life and I work mostly with elemental magic. I run a mystery school and I support people in psychological and spiritual well-being and healing generational trauma, and seeing how it's connected to collective trauma through the aspects of sacred sensuality, social justice, and art. I run the Earth Temple, which is a church here in Southern California that works mostly with nature therapy and getting back into our indigenous ways, re-indigenization, connection to nature and the trees as ways of praying, our pagan ways. And yeah, I found you because of the Great Cosmic Mother, our mutual love for the Bible,
Yes, baby.
the true book, and our deconstructing of the Abrahamic and pretty much any of the standing religions as they
Yes.
be. And so yeah, just grateful to be here and continually be learning with you and learning from you.
Right on, right on. So, can you say a little bit, just a little bit, because I want to do a deep dive separate from this on the equinox ceremony, but can you say a little bit about your experience out in the desert with us?
Yeah, thank you so much. I went personally because I've been feeling a lot of unprocessed grief and rage, just in my own life with the completion of some patriarchal based friendships and relationships, navigating white light supremacy in my own life. Being part of the spiritual world, especially in Los Angeles, there's an overemphasis on love and light, and I'm here for love and fight. Like, I've always been a revolutionary, and seeing the parts in me that started to get caught up in the white supremacy, light supremacy of wanting to be the pretty one and the perfect one and the podcasty one and the one who has it all together, and seeing how that's so connected to the Christian Judeo foundation of
Yes.
white skin, light supremacy, the light angels, this whole
Yes. Come
paradigm.
on. Tell the
And then
truth.
connecting that with the movement of Free Palestine, not as a nation state, but as a liberation movement, Free Congo, Free Sudan, Free Ethiopia. These are calls to acknowledge that large corporations are benefiting from genocide of Black and brown people on our planet, and to witness the majority of specifically white spiritual women, who I used to call friends, be not only completely silent about these genocides, but to tell me to my face that they cannot speak about them because they will lose money for their retreats. They will lose money for their book deals. They will lose money and followers on their podcasts because people who are Zionists, which is another form of Nazism, in my opinion, are
Absolutely.
following them and supporting their podcasts. And it just has blown my mind how someone could ever have a
Complicit.
spiritual experience of oneness and then see abject genocide, see complete abuse of a group of people. There's no denying it at all. The United Nations, Amnesty International, everyone is naming that this is what's happening. We see it every day on social media. And not only are you not saying something, you tell me to my face that the reason you're not saying something is white supremacy and capitalism. And so the rage that I've been feeling in my body and my bones of like, these are people I love, And I have a rage in them and a grief in my lungs and in my heart that has come up, and a re-inspecting of how I do my own work, you know, how I've used my own, how can I use my own privilege for good? I still need to make money, but how do I do that in a way that is ethically aligned and tithing back to people and organizations that are supporting the most oppressed and those who need voice and resource? So I came, A, to commune with other women in nature, B, because I love you and I trust the way that you listen. As a student first, like I really appreciate the way that you teach is from that perspective of you're also a constant student. And I can't follow any experts anymore. I can't follow any motherfucking people who need to be on top of a pyramid. So I was like, I will be in circles with this witch any day. Yes, please. And number 3 was like to let the grief come out of my body. I'm totally okay feeling grief, rage, and wrath. I just don't want it to live in my body and start to feed off of my things. So went with that intention and got to release a lot, you know, and I'm still processing. I have, you know, this throat lung thing that has come up since then as well. And I just see it as a continual release of this self grief, my generational grief, and grief for the planet right now, the poly crisis, climate crisis, genocide, and apathy, I think, are the biggest things on our planet right now. The murdering of, the continual murdering of our Black and brown brothers and sisters. A dear sweet young boy, 16-year-old, was just murdered in Apple Valley, which is less than an hour away from me, with autism. And he was having an autistic panic attack and was shot on sight by a police officer. And these things affect my body deeply, and I want to allow them to impact me without it staying in my body. So I want to stay sensitized. I want to stay awake and aware. And I also want to continue forward and hone in on joy and utilize love as my main force. But there's still a lot of grief and rage processing. But the equinox ceremony, thank you again for holding it, really creating circles with other powerful women. And I would love to invite men and non-binary people into this space too, because they get to witness us. They need to witness it too. They need to be a part of the ways that we have learned and that we're remembering how to mourn and grieve and wail, you know, be in that wrathful state of this grief is so huge. All I know how to do is scream into the earth and like destroy something. When we do that together, something magical really happens. And being under the stars and that moon with y'all in the water, I don't want to speak too much detail because I know you'll have another live about it, but just wherever 2 or more are gathered, we can transform, we can really create alchemy, turn this lead into gold, turn this shit into something truly beautiful. And I'm here for it.
Let me tell you, it's funny. One of the things that you said about how you had this little, you know, lung throat thing, right? Coming back. So I slept for the first 2 days after we came back. I didn't get home till 9 o'clock that night. Oof. I was like, after we had lunch together when we left, you and I. I was like, oh my God, I'm like totally, I'm white. I was done. I was white. I sat right in that parking lot, kicked my chair back and went to sleep in the car. I was like, oh my God. So I didn't get home till about 9 o'clock that night. And I woke up the next morning with this, I lost you. Reverend Briana? Okay. I woke up with this terrible, like, it felt like I'd been struck by lightning, this terrible cramp in my neck. Now, some of y'all know, y'all see me kind of like adjusting throughout the show for the last 3 weeks. I've been dealing with this thing in my arm that I haven't been able to get any relief from. And so to wake up the next day with this sharp stabbing cramp in my neck that made my right arm unable to move. Because I came back, I'd already made a plan coming back from the desert. Okay, I got to work this day, this day, this day, this. I got to work this many hours. I got to have at least 3 clients every day, and I'll be all right. So I'd already made the plan that as soon as I came back, I was going to do what I do. Jump both feet first into busy shit. And this was like debilitating, right? Yesterday was the first day I worked, and it was like very light. So it put me on my ass for 2 days. I couldn't figure out what the hell happened, like what it was. And then I spent all day from 3:00 in the afternoon till 4:00 in the morning at the spa, at the Wee Spa, going back and forth between the hot tub and the cold tub and the cold tub and the sauna and the massage chair, like trying to figure out what the hell was happening with my body. And I just really, and I haven't checked in that way with the other women that were there, but it was intense. And I don't think, and even Dave and I were talking the next day about, he was like, yeah, y'all should have been here at least another full day, like come on a Sunday and stay till Thursday or something like that, because y'all did a lot in that 3 days. And to have to get up, he said the same thing we were saying, to have to get up, clean up, get our lives together, and then drive 2 hours in all these opposite directions. It was a lot, right? And that's what I was feeling in my body, was that I had not created enough space and time to really process how deep and how radical that shit was. I've been in a lot of ceremonies from different traditions. I've done Temescal with Mexica indigenous people. I've done Inipi with Lakota and other people. I've done plant medicines, right? I've done ceremony on a reservation. I've done ceremony, with within the Ifa tradition, really radical, unbelievable ceremony. That thing that we executed on Tuesday, and it wasn't just the ceremony itself, even setting up the space, even preparing the space that morning when you first got there and we put you right to work, even preparing the space. I didn't expect it to, the erecting of the shrine and the purifying of the space where we were going to execute the ceremony. I didn't expect it to be that moving and that profound. It was profound to be out there. And I'm just really, and plus it was really a jack move for everybody involved, because I didn't even put out the call to people until like a week before. I was like, ain't nobody coming. I'm gonna be out here in these woods by my damn self. Ain't nobody coming. I done gave everybody a week. Listen, I'm doing this radical thing out in the middle of nowhere. You feel me? On this really radical land that sits on top of the San Andreas Fault, and it's got all this magical stuff happening. Y'all come out here with me. Just take my word for it. Just take my word for it. It's gonna be awesome and magical and amazing and change your life. And the other thing that you mentioned about the need for males and gender fluid people, non-binary, trans, gender non-conforming people to be there. I put out a call to everybody I know. I put out a call literally to everybody that I know, males, females, lesbians, gender non-conforming, trans people. I put out the call to everybody I know. I did. Because initially I was like, yeah, we're going to do a goddess retreat, blah, 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 blah. I know I was like, no. Especially once I got that download 2 days before. 2 days before, I was like, yes, men need to be buried in the dirt too. Men need to be reborn from the body of the mother too.
Yes.
Right. And so, yeah, I was really grateful because these women came from, everybody was at least 2 hours away. Everybody was at least 2 hours away. Everybody came by themselves because of, work and their work. This was during the week. And so, Briana is a wolf mama. She owns 2 wolves. She had to find a wolf sitter. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot for people to do on such short notice. Say that again. What'd you say?
It's hard work to find a good wolf sitter. It's hard.
So that's all I think we're going to say about that for now, because that needs to be its own separate live. I want to talk to y'all about what we did, about the why, how I came up with what it is we needed to do. And I told you this was going to be the initiation process for the temple moving forward. So once, we get the website finally online, which is like the thorn in my side, and to talk about like what membership looks like, what the process for initiation looks like, how that happens, what that means in terms of your level of commitment, because there will be levels of commitment. Everybody ain't going to want to go through the initiation process. It was deep. And I actually adjusted a lot. I adjusted a lot because being there in real time, I was like, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot. And so we all ended up in the earth for about an hour. And an hour was enough. An hour was enough. Child, listen. An hour was enough. It was so like you could it felt like millions of like electrical tentacles. I'm not lying, y'all, all over your body.
Pulsing,
it felt like this kind of, I haven't even talked about this out loud yet. I haven't even written down anything yet, but it felt like this kind of symbiotic give and take. Like my whole thing was to leave with the mother that which I did not want to be reborn with. It was to take into the earth that which I wanted to stay here in this life, and what I wanted to leave, what I wanted to unburden myself with, because she can take and transform it all.
All of it.
She can take and transform it all. And what I wanted to be to be a conscious creator of the new world, to be a conscious creator of this new me, taking seriously this charge that she set on our lives to change the world once and for all, and to do it right now. What are the ways that can happen right now? You heal you while simultaneously healing those around you. And baby, when I tell you, it was freezing. Oh my God.
So cold. It was so fucking cold.
It was freezing.
And it was a cold that's not like any other cold. It wasn't like water cold. It's not like air cold. Earth cold sucks the warm out of the body. It takes the warm. I can literally feel the warmth leaving my body into the earth in every direction.
Yes. Oh my God. Because I was like, well, surely once we're here for a little while, our
it'll
body
warm
up the dirt. Oh no, it was freezing
the whole time. Cold.
All the way till they pulled us out. Freezing. Freezing. Yep. It was such a deep and burrowing, like intense, like, bitch, you in here now, you about it, you ready, you about it. And then something happened, because I was silent for a long time. I was just like, okay, trying to like, I was really in my head about how cold it was. I was like, oh my God. And then there was a moment where I just like let go of this sense of control. That's what it was me being rigid, like kind of against the cold, where I allowed myself to relax into it. And baby, it felt like there was a moment where I felt like I was time traveling. It was like, because my intention was set that whether I was conscious or not of what I was leaving, I wanted to make sure I was born new. And the only other time this has happened was the first time I did ayahuasca. The only time that this has happened was the first time I did ayahuasca, where I saw my life flash before my eyes, but in goddamn slow motion. It was, and it wasn't just my life. It was my mother's life. It was my daughter's life. It was my granddaughter's life. It was my big mama's life. It was my grandma Helen's. It was like simultaneously seeing like all this hurt and all this trauma and all this sadness and all this grief never spoken by these women, never allowed to be spoken by these women. And I was feeling that shit all at one time. And I came unglued. I was feeling all the women of my family as far back as it is. I was seeing their faces, man, and feeling like it was in real time, all of their burdens. And she was like, baby, you got to leave it there for all of them. They didn't have this opportunity. They didn't know. They didn't have the sight. They didn't have the ability to hear. They didn't have the ability. They weren't afforded. They weren't afforded the stillness, the rest, the silence, the safety, the covering. Y'all have done that for me, whether you know it or not. Y'all have provided that for me. The safety, the stillness, the ability to be able to take a day off if I need it. Y'all have done that. And she says, so you have to carry this for all of them and leave it here with me. Because when you are being born new, baby, they are being born new too. That all the way back to the little spiral I showed y'all in the beginning. To go back to the one, to go back to the beginning, to go back to the mother of us all and heal in her, care for her. Because this isn't just a spiral. This is a pregnancy right here. This is a pregnancy. This is the matrix of the womb right here. This is what it is, right? This is what it is. This is us. This whole thing right here. This is the collective womb. This is every man, woman, child, every binary, non-binary person, not gender non-conforming, every trans. This is everybody on the planet. This is our collective womb. Because what's being called on us is to birth the new world in real time. Right? We know that the new world is coming. So what do we do in preparation? Because we are certain that the new world is coming, just like a mama. Even when the baby is just a little embryo, just a little egg. They hadn't even split apart yet, right? She is certain that once that seed is sown, the outcome is a whole nother entity, a whole nother human. This is us pregnant with the new world right now. This is us pregnant with the new age right now. And what that mother does is she cares for herself, because to care for herself is to care for her baby.
That one.
To care for herself is to care for what is to come, even as she can't see it, even as she cannot feel it yet, even as she has not felt the quickening yet. She is certain. She is certain. And so she automatically tailors her behavior. Okay, I got to stop drinking. I can't go out to the club because there's too much smoke in the club. I can't, you know what I'm saying? There's certain shit I can't do. I can't eat certain shit right now. There are things that she does to ensure the best possible outcome. To ensure the best. This is the pregnancy. And the original mother is who we are saying needs to be mothered right now. We are planting the seed of the original mother, the one, the Black primordial she that is the progenitor to us all. To embrace, to cover, to support, to nourish, to make happy the Black mother on earth, knowing that we are all made well. This is all of us. This is Black, brown, red, yellow, white people. That's the spiral. That's all of us. This is past, present, future. This is the spiral. This is all the relationships. This is us. This is all the genders. This is us. So when I say center Black women, I'm not talking about on no dumb shit. I'm talking about y'all all hate Black women. And so therein lies the secret to your salvation. Therein lies the secret to your salvation. It is. When you care for the mother, you care for yourself. Just like when you pregnant with your own child, when you care for yourself, you care for the baby.
Yes.
You see how that is? Back and forward, forward and back. To go to the center, to return to the source, is to ensure that the now, which is where we are when we reparent our little baby and all of that, right? We know that it has an immediate, even though that is, quote, the past exists forever. The past is always ever present. To go back and care for our inner baby is to show up in us right now. We do the work knowing that it will have an immediate impact on our lives right now. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. What would be the purpose of past life regression? What would be the purpose? of child regression work. What is it? Yeah, child regression work or whatever. So that's why I asked these women to go out into the desert with me and have enough confidence and trust and faith in me to allow me to bury them in the dirt in the dead of night at the peak of the equinox in the middle of the desert, surrounded by coyotes and shit, robbing stuff off the altar. The coyotes jacking shit off the altar and shit. You feel me? And
any
six
day.
women said, okay,
you make that call. You make that call any day. As long as my wolf babies are taken care of, that's like the only thing in my life that I've really got to, like, you are one of those women, and I don't want to speak for everyone tuning in, but you beyond even womanhood, you represent a type of call on the planet right now that we are all very hungry for, which is the humble, fierce, no bullshit, equally soft and equally wrathful. And we motherfucking need that in leadership right now, especially spiritual leadership, where it's like, I will love you so good, and there is no bullshit allowed in this field. None.
That part.
And the children and the women are centered, and I've lived my life that way. You as an elder, I just want to speak life over you of like, you as an elder, you as a ceremonialist, you as a mother, you as a student, you as a humble teacher, you as someone who's been fucking rocked by life, and still show up laughing, and you still show up playing the music, right? You still and your story, you could be anything. You could be as maniacal or downtrodden or vengeful. You have all the reason to be, and the way you have transmuted your life, that's what we need in leadership. And I just really want to say thank you to you, because a lot of people who have your abilities have used them for their own personal gain, to create a brand or create a momentum of capitalistic gain. And I speak abundance over you, because for the temple and for you personally, because you have chosen the path that is the harder choice, which is truth and integrity and community and the children, instead of going the path of the brand. And from this forward, may abundance weave itself into all that you do, so that you can continue with your integrity and your truth, and also bring in a place like what we visited for your own home, for your own temple, so that you can continue to do this work and be fully taken care of. I see that for you, and I say yes, and I'm here to support it.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm telling you, even when it doesn't, like, we pray in a way where, and it's our conditioning, but we pray in a way that is kind of like desperate. You know what I'm saying? I gotta, please help me come up with the money to pay my bills. Please let me, it's like desperate. It's like chasing, right? And so when I started saying that we don't pray, we conspire, right?
I love
that what we say is certain, because the mother wills it so. Why would I make a statement like that? Because all we have to do, most of us, all we have to do is look back at the quality of our relationship with our birth mother. I'm not saying across the board. I know some people have had very not great relationships with their mothers, but in general, right? She wants only that which makes us happy, only that which keeps us content, only that which keeps us giggling and thriving and healthy and meeting our little benchmarks, right? And so I know that my mother still has that. She has that for me. Like, look, you have heeded the call. You've been, I don't require it. She doesn't require our obedience, by the way. She doesn't require our obedience to care for us. We breathe. Even though they try to put bars on it, you understand, blocks on it, water still comes freely in a lot of places. You understand? She gives abundantly, because all she's interested in is our happiness. But at this period, we do have to be compliant. She's like, look, y'all done fuck this little utopia up that I gifted you. and didn't require anything from you. I was just ecstatic, witnessing your existence, witnessing you live and thrive in me. That's what she said. She said, but now we got to do world changing work. So those of you who comply know that I want you to be cared for while you win others back to me. That's all she's interested in. That's all she's interested in, is us being one back to her, us becoming one with self instead of opposing self. To oppose others, to oppose her, to oppose the planet is to oppose self. We are literally at war with ourselves. And she says, I want to end your isolation. I want you to remember what loving limitlessly feels like in your body, what pure ecstasy feels like as your norm, as the norm, as the standard, as the starting point. Ecstasy. I want you to remember that, because you are only hurting yourselves in these isms that you side with. And I'm saying this because she cares for me. You understand? And I accept that most of the times it's my own blocks that make her ability to care for me a little bit more difficult than it probably should be, right? It's still my own isms. It's still my own shit that I have to work through, you feel me, that makes it more difficult for her to care for me. I accept that. But she shows up for me in radical ways. All the time, I tell y'all story after story after story of how the mother, and I tell you, when she shows up, she wants me to know, bitch, it's me. It's not your imagination. It's not a coincidence. Bitch, it's me. So she talks to me loudly, right? And so how we met this person that gave us the opportunity to, we didn't have to go scavenging out in the wild somewhere to seek out, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. I'm like, oh my God, where are we going to do it? How would it happen? Will we be supported? Will we be safe? I was stressing about that even up until we got there. But he already had a place staged for us. He told me, what did he say? He said, I want you to see this land as the place that you can feel safe executing your wildest dreams. That's what he told me when I approached him about this radical thing we wanted to do on his property, right? On his $8 million property.
Extremely masculine statement. Like, if we could just copy paste that for the men masculine training of like, this is how you respond to women who want to hold ceremony, obviously with discernment, because it's not all women. There's patriarchalized women too, but for like to deconstruct patriarchy in the men, they get to see women who are centering the great mother, Mother Earth, the dark mother, and say, how can I support you? How can I make sure you're protected? How can I dig holes for you? Can I provide you candles? On in the room. That one. That is like the greatest role. And then when we're ready, I think next time we invite him into that ceremony, you know what I mean? Like, there does need to be a time. I talked to him about it already. I talked to him about it already. I was like, great. Yes. I feel comfortable with him now that he's proven, you know what I mean? It's almost like an initiation before the initiation. Before you can see my tits, I need to like see you interact with a few waitresses. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Come on. Before you can come into the ceremony, do some work around the property, move some wood, show up with no payment, and then you will get the reward of your lifetime. Listen, girl, listen. Yes. Yes. Because listen, one of the things I had been kind of tiptoeing around, but it is a malignancy where men who become spiritual, men who become associated with the goddess, men who become feminist, men who are progressive, right? Somehow there is this default kind of way that they translate in their mind is to become less masculine. I don't know if that makes sense, but there is a softening almost to an extreme, right? And as a matter of fact, it's not my imagination, because in the book Communion that I read to you guys,
by Bell Hooks. She had a chapter talking about this, about how in the 70s men were becoming feminists, but they were becoming very docile. And the thing with feminists who were still having relationships, heterosexual relationships with men, didn't want punks. They wanted masculine men who still, as masculine men, had the ability to say, yes, this is how my ideas have changed. This is how it shows up in my relationship with my partner. This is how I will take my masculinity and switch sides, if you will. Switch sides from patriarchy to, feminism, or to the matriarchy or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, I felt like, and I think that's what a lot of men reject too, who are, quote, masculine men. They reject the idea of the goddess. They reject the idea of the matriarchy. They reject the idea of mother goddess ideology, because in their mind, they think it's going to make them a punk, or it's going to make them a simp, or it's going to make them, weak, or it's going to mean that the mother is going to be on top of them, right? They're going to be like in their childhood relationship with their mama, just running around doing what mama say type of shit, right? And that's not what we're trying. That's not what I'm interested in. That's not what I'm trying to create. Because even those men who become very soft and almost to an extreme, who become associated with the goddess or whatever, they become a feminist or whatever, they still have malignant, patriarchal, misogynistic ways that are now well covered, well hidden behind some well-placed dreadlocks and, some
little hard Christmas shirt. Yes.
Well, come the fuck home, right?
Yeah.
They wear all of the tribal, attire and regalia and shit, and still just as malignant as the day is long. But now they're very well hidden and non-assuming for women that think they are safe in space with these men. So I appreciated this interaction with this man who, you do not, to look at him, you don't see a hippie who is like talking about crystals and rocks and healing and the chakras and shit. He's like a regular ex-Navy dollars and cents kind
Navy
of guy.
SEAL.
Huh?
He was a Navy SEAL. He's like the elite of the elite.
Yeah. So when I'll be honest, the first conversations that I had with him, I was like, look, are you the police? Like, I need to know. Who are you? Are you the police? You feel me? Because everybody's suspect. But now you telling me you ex-military, you feel me? You ex-Navy SEAL, you feel me? Are you the police? What do you want from me? Right?
Yeah.
These are our early conversations. Like, we didn't have some crazy conversations, this man and I. But even the fact that he was open to them, he didn't know me from a hill of beans. You feel me?
But what I love about Navy SEALs, and I've noticed this with a few military men, once they have an experience of oneness, and sometimes it's a near-death experience, an ND, sometimes it's plant medicine, sometimes it's through orgasm. Once a military man or woman or non-binary person has a oneness experience and they get on the path of Mother Earth, they are straightforward in their integrity, they are clear with their discipline, and they are no bullshit. And I appreciate them a lot more than these floppy motherfuckers who pretend like they're all soft and feminine up front, and when doors close behind, they are narcissistic assholes who are about to beat my ass because they're so feminine out front. Their toxic masculine shows up behind closed doors. I'm not interested in that fake spiritual bullshit anymore. The Sacred Son's fake spiritual bullshit. These fake medicine men stealing indigenous names and indigenous medicine. I will take a military man, even if they're currently in the military, who's going to be straight with me, who understands oneness and understands that we are serving. You're not here to serve me. We are here to serve the Great Mother together.
Yes.
I am one iteration of her, and he can serve that. But like,
before you go too far, because there was one thing I wanted to mention particularly about him, about his background is the Navy, because it's something that I've been talking about and trying to work my mind around. Not even work my mind around, but like when I talk about men particularly or men and women, but men particularly who have served in the Navy in any given, not in the Navy, in the military in any way. Right? Because I come from a military family, right? What I have been saying, especially the way the world is, because these things typically don't resolve themselves easily. It can, but there's typically resistance, right? To radical transformation, which is what we're trying to create. And so the thing that was really helpful about this interaction that we all had with him in the space this past week, especially for what it was we were doing, was this is how, what I have said in the past is you men primarily have blindly, you were conditioned, but still blindly, whether it was patriotism or whether it was the only way you could get a good job, have blindly executed the ambitions of patriarchy, blindly executed the ambitions of the corporatocracy since day one, since we've been on this continent, right? And that enthusiasm, that fervor, that discipline that you use to defend bullshit, the mother still needs it. Can you execute that same kind of fervor, discipline, radical action, disciplined, armed discipline, if need be, on behalf of the mother? Can you do that? Can you switch sides? Can you be a turncoat on behalf of the mother? So so like, I think that was the reason that I really mentioned the whole, like, you know, men, males, you know, feeling that, sensing some rejection to the mother, to the goddess, to even feminism or anything like that as a way to, quote, turn them into punks. And that's not the ambition, right? There are reasons that we have differences in our experiences as males and females on Earth at any given time. Those differences can change biologically or socially or culturally, but there's a reason. And right now, the mother is saying, take the skills that I gave you, take the skills that you have, take the life experiences that you have, and turn the world right side up. So I appreciated the way that man showed up in space. I do. Not only that, the way he used his resources to support us in that space.
So much.
That was huge. Not just getting out there and digging our trenches for us, which was huge. I didn't want to do it with a jacked up shoulder, but I was ready. You know what I'm saying? Not only with, you know, making sure that the space was prepared for us to be welcomed into, right? But also how he used the resources that he had, because that's all we're talking about. You said it earlier, you know, as a white person, how to use your privilege as a tool for good, as an instrument for good, right? How to use your position of privilege in the world as a tool for good, right? He did that in real time. That's what he did. That's what he did. And then checked on us throughout the night. Y'all need more wood? Y'all need water? Yes. All night.
True brother.
Water, y'all good? Whispering outside the perimeter as to not disrupt the ceremony. You good? Y'all okay? Okay. It was big. It was really big. It was huge. You know?
Shout out to you, Dave.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on here. I'm going to go ahead because it's 2 hours and 15 minutes now. Thank you so much for coming on. Pleasure. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me at this most monumental event that we just did this last week that I'm sure is going to have a ricochet effect. I'm certain of it. Certain of it.
Any blessings.
I'll keep